I feel super out of practice standing in front of a room this full. Hello. So welcome everybody to the 41st San Francisco Good Government Awards. Yes. My name's Alicia John-Baptiste. I'm president and CEO at SPUR, and I am just so excited to be with you all tonight to honor excellence in public service. At SPUR, we strive to build a Bay Area where all people can thrive. And we know that to do that, we have to work in partnership really across the civic ecosystem, but in particular with local government. And we are so proud to be supporters of this event because we truly believe in government as a force for good. And tonight we are here to honor 54 truly incredible people. We have never recognized quite so many people at one time before, but extraordinary times call for extraordinary leadership, and that is what we witnessed over the past 2 years. And I am guessing that for most people in this room, when you checked that box where you said, I acknowledge that I'm a disaster service worker, you didn't really know what you were acknowledging. And in particular, because these past couple of years have been this time of just extraordinary deconstruction and unraveling. All of the threads that hold us together as a nation have been unspooling. All of the threads that hold the pattern of our daily lives have been falling apart. That pattern that holds us in place and that pattern that holds us in habit, it all just disappeared between sheltering in place and school closures and the idea that we were supposed to drink bleach and that was going to solve our problem. All of us were suddenly in this completely surreal existence without any anchor. And the job of the people who are being honored tonight, what you were tasked with, was to reweave that tapestry for us, to rebuild social cohesion and community health and well-being, but not in the way that it was designed before. Because also we saw with crystal clarity that systemic racism was as toxic, if not more toxic to us than was COVID. So the job was to redesign and rebuild in the midst of a disaster, working in ways that none of us had ever worked before. And we come here tonight to honor, to recognize, to celebrate, because that is what you did. You did it for us, not because you were going to come up on this stage, but it was because it was what the community needed. Many of us have heard some talk recently about this idea that perhaps San Francisco is a failed city, that it's a place where our ideals get in the way of practicality, where our politics continue to be a knife fight in a phone booth. And whoever said that is of a certain age, because not so many people get in phone booths anymore. And San Francisco, we know this, San Francisco is a place where we hold our ideals very passionately. And at a time when, as a society, we face so many existential challenges that are at such odds with those passionately held ideals, it is not surprising that people are uneasy about where we are heading. But when we look at these past 2 years, how can we see failure? San Francisco is not a failed city. San Francisco is a city that leads with its heart. And yes, that is messy, but it is also our greatest strength. It is why you worked 12, 14, 16 hours a day nights, weekends, no rest, months on end, to keep people you didn't know safe, to save people from dying, to make sure that people were fed and housed. It's why you worked across departments and sectors and roles and any other line that we could think of, and we know there's a lot of them in government, worked across all of those to give the people what they needed. And it is also why, when you asked, the people of San Francisco responded in solidarity and with solidarity, because this is a city that leads with its heart. And at a time when nationally, things are still unraveling, this is the leadership that we need more than ever. The pandemic is not quite the crisis that it was 2.5 years ago, but the need to redesign, rebuild, reconnect, that remains. So we need the example that you provided in responding to COVID. We need to believe that we can live our ideals. We need to be called to live our ideals. And for that, we need you to continue to work as a force for good. So I am just so incredibly honored to be here tonight to recognize this leadership, to recognize all that you have contributed. And as an individual person, I am incredibly grateful to you for all the sacrifice, everything you did to keep our communities safe and healthy and connected. And I am now very excited to begin our program. And before I ask people to come up and stand to be recognized, we're going to get a little bit of a look at your collective accomplishments.
In the early part of 2020 was when I first got the sense that the world was about to change in a fundamental way. I remember looking at health orders, restricting gatherings to no more than 100 people. And I remember thinking, this is an unprecedented action by the city.
Has been working to prepare for what we know would be a significant public health challenge here in the city, and we are seeing it play itself out.
We sent people home on March 17th. I think many of us hoped at the beginning that it would be, 2 weeks.
We realized that this was growing and this was big, and that San Francisco was going to have to step up and figure out, how big our response was going to be.
I don't even know how to describe the feeling at the beginning, It was just this heart in your throat at all moments, just holding on with your fingernails and trying to be as responsive as possible.
There's a fine print when you get hired by the city that if there's an emergency that you are supposed to report and work. We had gardeners, we had muni drivers, we had folks from all sectors of San Francisco, and we trained them.
It was no longer your standard workforce situation. We required a lot of people power.
We are on day 3 of the shelter-in-place order, and we have this operation center here, fully operational, with a number of city departments who are working together to make sure that we are prepared and coordinating in our hospitals, that we are working to prepare with our homeless and vulnerable populations, that we are working to provide information and safeguards and other things.
There were an unbelievable number of projects that had to be planned and built from the ground.
If you are trying to stand up a testing site, but you don't have personal protective equipment for the staff, you can't safely open that site.
We had 3 days, 72 hours to erect early child and youth care sites in the city for emergency workers to be able to have their children placed so they could basically go out and tend to what No one has ever imagined or ever thought they would see in their lifetime this pandemic. I even drove a box truck to make sure we got food to the locations, and we were ready to accept the students to come into a warm, safe, inviting place.
One of the big successes was how rapidly we were able to stand up our alternative housing. We have a long-established relationship with the hotel community here in San Francisco, and part of what we did was reach out to them to see if we could begin to bring some of their hotels online and into the city system to be able to provide rooms for individuals and families that were unable to shelter in place on their own.
Our data group was responsible for creating the COVID dashboards and making sure that people had information about exactly what the situation was in terms of COVID cases and in terms of where that was happening and who was being affected.
Little by little, we were able to do it by age, race, ethnicity, neighborhood, and that built more credibility as we were able to give people the information that they needed.
The info and guidance and policy team was working to make sure that people had really clear, detailed guidance around how to conduct life and business in this context.
We knew early on that this was a huge shock to the San Francisco economy, and it was going to take a collaborative, citywide effort to address the economic concerns that came with the closing of most businesses. The Shared Spaces program was really important because a lot of businesses weren't able to operate indoors. The goal was to activate as much public space as possible for these community and retail uses. Feedback from the business community really had an impact on how we designed reopening sectors.
How do you overcome vaccine hesitancy? The historical mistrust that happens, grounded in truth, particularly towards health institutions. You have trusted individuals in terms of equity. We could be the translators to the community and with the community.
我哋明白你哋有好多關於新冠肺炎疫苗嘅問題。
At 100% na epektibo.
Y juntos nos estamos pudiendo luchar y seguir para adelante.
So sign up and line up. Hit me with your best shot.
The city had to operate very differently and to work with the people.
We had so much success with our vaccination rate in San Francisco because we were intentional about how we went about working with communities, and we did it 7 days a week.
We served over 5,000 students. We were in 78 sites.
We served right over 9,000 people.
Many hundreds of city employees gathered more than 90 million units of PPE.
We created over 250 health orders, everything from looking at how dog parks operated to whether pickleball was safe or not, things that you take for granted in daily life, that we used to take for granted in daily life, we had to evaluate at a very detailed level.
It was the information that people could tether to in this time that was so overwhelming and so scary, and feel that they had some sense of control and what to do.
The pandemic and the issues it presented was really the challenge of a lifetime. While we're very proud of what we've done in San Francisco, that's not to say we didn't make mistakes. We tried as best we could to learn from those mistakes, to attune to public criticism, to listen, to adapt, and to constantly reevaluate our response.
Now we know we can do this. We have a lot of lessons learned for the future, and it gives us some new pathways on how to do response in the crises that we may see in the future.
When things got hard, one of the main things that kept us going was each other. Everybody seemed to be all in. We could depend on one another.
It really, truly was because of city employees that we were able to keep this city safe.
All right, it is now my honor to introduce San Francisco's, oh, it sure is, you are on. And of course, Mayor Breed needs no introduction, but it was her bold leadership that brought us this. Welcome.
Thank you. That video really took things back, and it also put things into perspective. We all remember early on when we first started to hear about COVID and the coronavirus and all of the information that we didn't necessarily have in order to figure out what we needed to do. There was no playbook for a global pandemic. Earthquakes, yes. We got those down. Even some of the challenges around heat, because it's real hot in here, that would come in handy right about now. There was no playbook. And there was a lot of fear. People didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. I never thought that when I became mayor, I would ever have to make a decision to tell people to not go to work or to not show up and to shelter in place. So yes, it was a scary time for some people. And there were a lot of people who were fearful of coming to work even when we needed them the most. But the reason why we are here is to really do something, I think, different than what SPUR had done in the past. There's always been the Good Government Awards, and people have been acknowledged for their work in serving the city in various capacities. But in this particular case, this is something real special. It's really special because the people that we are honoring tonight didn't necessarily have to do what they did. They stepped up to take on assignments that weren't in their job description. When there was a call that went out to get disaster service workers and to get various people to come in, there were those who had legitimate reasons for why they were concerned about coming in, but there were others, like the honorees tonight, who answered the call, who were the first in line, who wanted to be of service to the people of this city, not understanding COVID and risking their own lives in order to serve. The bus drivers who showed up, the people who worked at the hospitals, the folks who helped to do all the work around the systems. And that's just the basics, right? But when you put that on top of what was happening to the people of San Francisco and the needs of this city, building in an equity infrastructure, making sure that, as what was said in the video by Valerie, just the mistrust around COVID and the mistrust around vaccinations and just the concerns, the need to embed equity and education around everything we did was so important. So yes, as a mayor, I was the person who went out and talked about things that we were going to do to address the challenges, but you were the people who did it. The people who showed up at Moscone Center, and in some cases, Adrienne, I know you're smiling behind that mask, but she was not smiling at Moscone Center. I don't know who got it worse, her or Andres. Because every day I had something that I wanted to be implemented, and I remember talking about all of these things with everyone, about the people who could not shelter in place. And what were we gonna do to get hold of these hotel rooms, and working with the hotel industry and trying to figure out the resources, and what we were gonna do to make sure that those who needed to isolate could isolate in hotels, who couldn't afford to isolate in hotels, but we were creating this system to do so. How we had to build infrastructure around testing and vaccines from scratch. There was no playbook. There was work that had to be done from the technical side of things, the organizational side of things, and how these things came together. I don't really know. But they came together. When our kids were struggling, I remember having the conversations with Phil Ginsburg and Maria Sue and pushing them aggressively. And because they had great people working for them who answered the call, we set up these community hubs. We work with the Latino Task Force. We work with so many different agencies and entities, neighborhood organizations. Cheryl Davis was out there with her equity teams, and everybody was doing a lot of work. You know, people don't sometimes understand how all this stuff really comes together. How we're able to make sure that people were, all of a sudden, these shared spaces popped up out of nowhere. And it was like, oh, we can go to a restaurant now and eat outside. How cool is that? Everybody was happy somewhat again. But MTA made it happen. And when you think about it, it was a lot of work, but it was so rewarding. It was so rewarding when we were able to give those checks to those small businesses who couldn't even open because of the service they provided. It was so rewarding when we were able to provide support to the nightlife industry, when we were able to provide financial support to those who didn't qualify for any financial support because they had to take off work and they had COVID and they didn't want to infect their families, but they needed the money. So rewarding when we provided those rent subsidies and all the things we came together to do. And the biggest message here today of everything, it all happened because we wanted to save lives, and that's what we did. San Francisco, one of the densest cities in the country, with one of the lowest death rates. Not even 1,000 people this whole time have died from COVID. And that's because of all of you. Yes, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and yelling matches between me and Dr. Grant Colfax. Yes, poor Mary Ellen Carroll had her hands full with a lot. And I noticed that when the video came on and everybody was cheering for the different people they knew, I noticed that no one cheered for Jesse Smith. Can I tell you how lucky we are to have Jesse Smith? Because, you know, so you guys gotta cheer for him. Because as hard as this was, you know, the emergency declaration was one thing, but the bureaucracy that made it tough for us to do some of the most simplistic things to serve the people of the city, the person who was always in my corner with my motto of how do we get to yes, that was Jesse Smith. How do we get to yes? So, I can't even believe Shireen took the job to run the Office of Homelessness and Supportive Services. But let me tell you, again, her and Trent and all these folks, all of you were a part of working with them to get people into hotels, to deal with the complaints while you were working your butts off to set up these contracts with nonprofits to get these places prepared and available. You all did so much amazing work. And I know oftentimes you heard the criticism of what the city wasn't doing. But the people that you helped, whether it was trying to interpret in different languages, the signage that went to small businesses and to people, or trying to help someone fill out an application, or moving them into a hotel room and convincing them to get a vaccine, all of that work that you all did as public servants for San Francisco, all of it, it made such an extraordinary difference here in San Francisco. So today, we honor you. We honor your work, we honor your commitment, we honor your service, because we know it doesn't happen with you. Yes, I'm a talker, I can get up here and say a lot of things, but it means nothing if there isn't a strong team of people working to make it happen, a strong team of people who believe in serving, who believe in doing things to help support and uplift others. When we talk about San Francisco as a resilient city, when we talk about how we've been through fires and earthquakes and pandemics and other things in the past, the reason why we're able to be here today and hold our heads up high and be proud has everything to do with the workforce in this city and the people who put their lives on the lines and wear their hearts on their sleeves every single day to serve the people of the city and county of San Francisco. So thank you all so much for your service. We honor you here today, and I know some of these various department heads who have that direct knowledge of all the great work you did are going to get up here and talk about some of that work so that all of you who are here to support them can know how special and how valuable these amazing public servants are to San Francisco. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Breed. So as the mayor was saying, it was truly a Herculean effort responding to COVID-19, and we are going to be honoring 8 separate teams representing 54 individuals, 19 different departments. And our first group award is going to be presented by the Mayor's Chief of Staff, Sean Ellsbury.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, excuse me for saying this. It is nice to be in an event that recognizes the people who actually do the work as opposed to the elected officials who sometimes take the credit. So it's great to be with all of you, and it really is kind of like coming home again. See, I mean, we should have done this at Moscone. I'm seeing so many faces I haven't seen at Moscone. No? Oh, okay. Bad. Sorry. Apologize. And the SPUR folks have told me you heard the numbers here, so I only have a couple minutes to talk about 4 great people sitting right here. First, I'm going to start with Dr. Bennett. Dr. Ayanna Bennett, who is currently the Director of Health Equity for the Department of Public Health. Give her a round of applause. Dr. Bennett did 2 great things, well, did many, many great things, but 2 things I want to highlight. First, at the very beginning of all this, as we were going through COVID and we were seeing what was happening in the East Coast, we saw that one of our biggest challenges could very well be Laguna Honda. What was happening in skilled nursing facilities, assisted living facilities around the country, we lost tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans because they did not have Dr. Ayanna Bennett's keeping their eyes on the ball. We had Dr. Ayanna Bennett watching Laguna Honda. I think one of the things this city can be most proud of, in 2 years, only 6 patients at Laguna Honda have died because of COVID. Only 6 in the largest skilled nursing facility. It is truly amazing, and Dr. Bennett led the team, got it propped up. It really is a model for how to handle a pandemic and a quarantine going forward. And then, once she was done with that, she became the incident commander for the Department of Public Health at Moscone Center, overseeing everything the Department of Public Health did. We are so lucky for all your work. Thank you, Dr. Bennett. Dr. Bennett's giving me the direction that next I have to do Adrian. Adrian, I think we all know her just as Adrian. Adrian just gets it done. It doesn't matter what the task is. Adrian, I need a blue pen. Adrian, I need 5 buses to get from the Bayview to the northeast part of the city, and it needs to be done in 20 minutes. Okay, Sean, I'll get it. It did not matter. Adrian just gets it done. She is a baseball fan, so I suspect she'll appreciate this. I am very fearful that she'll get a rotator cuff surgery because all the time it was raising her hand, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. She never said no. She never said I couldn't figure it out. She always got it done. And then the other fun fact, just to share with everyone here about Adrian, I believe she is the first multi-generation winner of this award. Her mother, Monique Zamuda, who is here with us, a previous winner. We lost her father a few years ago, but we all know very well the wonderful man, Phil Arnold, who did so much for our city. I know how proud he is, Adrian. Yeah. Next, you're last. Next, going to Jesse. Well, I can't beat what the mayor said, Jesse. I mean, that was pretty good. What I will say about Jesse is you cannot, until it's not there, you don't appreciate the steady hand, the steady leadership. There was never any up and down. Jesse was always right there, always had the answers, and if he didn't, he told you, and he said he'd get right back to you, and he did. And across the board, as he said up there, I don't know if she's here, but I heard Jesse mention pickleball. Thank God Peg Stevenson isn't here because she would have really had a lot to say to Jesse about that. But Jesse was the backbone of everything that we did. And I do want to just recognize, I'm not going to do all their names, but that city attorney's office, the team that Jesse led, was invaluable. And then lastly, I've got a lot of our colleagues here, Andres, because I told them I was going to try to embarrass you here. But I just don't have the nerve. Andres is my colleague, my peer, and my friend. Sorry. Nothing in the mayor's office gets done without him. And I don't see any of them here, so I can say this. Thank God for Andres, because he's the one who gets to deal with the Board of Supervisors. And we are very lucky that he handles it with such grace. They might not say that, but you do, Andres. You do a great job. And they like, there's a reason it's Andres and not me. They like him. Andres, thank you. Adrian, thank you. Dr. Bennett, thank you. Jesse, thank you.
Okay, for our next group of awards, we are going to welcome to the stage the Director of the Department of Public Health, Dr. Grant Colfax. Here you are.
Well, hi, everyone. I thought I was going to be the first one to start crying tonight. So it's really wonderful to be here, and thank you, Mayor Breed, for your incredible leadership during the pandemic. And on behalf of the department, I just want to say thank you for everything that you all have done for public health. And COVID has changed the department, and I think all of us forever. And our commitment is to continue to evolve and learn with all of you and be as collaborative a department as we can be as we move forward with the still many health challenges that we have in the city. And it's really my pleasure to not only see everybody so many people from the COVID Command Center who are so instrumental in our response, but also to acknowledge and celebrate that infrastructure still carries forward today in the COVID task force, where we're still managing COVID and COVID cases and working with community in the ways that we learned over the last 2 years when we were working all together. So just to acknowledge that work is still going on. And today, I have the honor to celebrate the Public Health Emergency Operation Awardees, and perhaps you could all come up behind me so people can see you while I'm talking. Do you mind? That's what I was told I was supposed to do, so I'm just following orders. So these team members work tirelessly behind the scenes, implementing and executing all of the public health and medical response activities at San Francisco's COVID Response Center. And not to exaggerate, we could not have achieved the successes that we did and achieve the life-saving interventions that we did without the people up here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of them. So, and maybe you can just raise your hand when I mention your name so people know who you are. Toby Scottness. So remember the early days of testing? Oh my God. So Toby oversaw the testing branch's expansion from an initial just 500 tests a day to over 4,000 tests a day. And I think on a few days, we went beyond that number. And that was city tests alone. Toby's ability to work with both internal and external partners helped us deliver services with equity at the forefront. Working nights and weekends, Toby did this all while keeping a positive attitude. So thank you, Toby. It's more than some of us could a positive attitude. If you looked at the video, some of us didn't look like we were super positive sometimes. So thank you, Toby, for that work. Eddie Sita of Contact Tracing. So Eddie's timing was perfect. He joined DPH in 2020 as the operational director of the COVID-19 case investigation and contact tracing team. And this was one of the first such teams in the country. And it was overseeing over 400 city, state, CBO, and contract workers to ensure that we were getting the people the services they need and doing the right contact tracing in the early days of the pandemic. And Eddie did this with grace, grit, and humility. He trained and led bilingual teams who conducted business in Spanish and helped ensure that the needs of San Francisco's most impacted communities were met. So thank you, Eddie, so much for your work. So Jonathan Sears, vaccine team. So Jonathan was there executing on the rollout from the earliest days when vaccine was scarce to today when he continues to lead the city's vaccination efforts. A colleague once referred to Jonathan as, quote, the nicest person in the room, unquote, because he always finds the silver lining. Very good. Today, nearly 90% of all eligible San Franciscans have been vaccinated against COVID-19, and Jonathan is a key reason that we got there. Okay, Carla Beek. Not just planning, but advanced planning. So Carla Beek was deployed for more than a year to the Advanced Planning Unit at the COVID Command Center, where she wore many hats. In the early days of our response, she led the tracking and forecasting of the availability of incredibly scarce PPE. Thank you for that. And working more than 60 hours a week, Carla brought her dedication, thoroughness, creativity, and humor to work every day in the service of San Francisco. And thank you, Carla. I personally read your reports every day. So all this work took money, and that fell to Drew Murrell of the finance team. All the work of scaling up testing and vaccine sites could not have been accomplished without Drew and his team. He led the work in developing a financial model, negotiating vendor contracts, always fun, and navigating new complex federal funding and reimbursement issues, which you continue to do to this day, because we got to get that FEMA money. Drew always stays cool, calm, and collected, and he ensured that this work happened and at a remarkable speed. Thank you, Drew. And I think you now all know Jackie McWright, the backbone of our COVID operations, helping to coordinate all of DPH's response interventions. She also helped coach and mentor new leaders, and somehow she kept the Med Ops section steady and thriving with all the other work that went on across the system, including through 2 surges, all while rolling out those all-important home and over-the-counter tests and therapeutics. In her nearly 31 years with DPH, Jackie has played a vital role in promoting equity. And she's been key as a mentor for future public health leaders, many of whom are fresh out of high school. So Jackie, thank you for everything you continue to do. Baljit Singha, DPH COVID Task Force Lead. So I think, Baljit, you joined the department like 2 minutes before COVID hit, right? Or, yeah, I think so. So he started his deployment as exec sponsor for the vaccine team and went on to serve as one of our task force leads. Baljit is calm, steady, who always maintains a positive attitude and strives to inspire and celebrate staff. He's also a huge fan of superheroes, and when you think about it, a hero works to correct wrongs, remove barriers, and improve working the way we treat others, and Baljit certainly fits that mode. So thank you, Baljit, for always answering the call. And please join me in thanking this amazing team of leaders.
So next, to present the award to the Alternate Housing Group, I am pleased to welcome Trent Rohr, Executive Director of the Human Services Agency, and Shireen McSpadden, Director of the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's amazing to be here, and the mayor really encapsulated what we went through for 2 years, and still going, really. But it was such hard work, but it was so rewarding. And I think I beat Sean to the tears, but no one could see me because, as she said, talking about the impact we made and such hard work that we did and what we accomplished, I got a tear. So I beat you on that one. Our resident risk manager and controller said not to invite people up on the stage because he was concerned people would fall off the back, so I'm not going to do that to you. What I want to do is, the video didn't talk much about really what the alternative housing system was or did, and unlike sort of vaccinations or testing, where it's pretty straightforward, we know how to do that, there was a lot of question about what the alternative housing system is, what it was, what it is, and why, and let me just briefly explain. So the Human Services Agency in any emergency response is responsible for providing mass care and shelter. So in terms of COVID-19, I remember in the early days, Mary Ellen said, you need to get your butt down to the EOC. I said, why? What's our role? And she said, we need to figure out housing for people who need to isolate. I'm like, oh, Jesus, of course. So under COVID, what does care and shelter mean? It was three things. One was to help manage the surge on our healthcare system so that people who weren't sick enough to be in the hospital but didn't have any place else to go would have a place to go so that the beds could be reserved for people who really needed to be hospitalized. The second was to protect vulnerable individuals who couldn't isolate on their own due to their housing condition, which is principally people experiencing homelessness. And the third was to slow the community spread of COVID by providing rooms and places to isolate for people who are living on the street. And so to meet these objectives, someone had the harebrained idea of approaching hotels and saying, hey, you guys are 100% vacant. Do you want to lease the hotels to us? Fast forward from that idea to the mayor presenting to the hotel council, asking them for their hotels. Fast forward a little more, we ended up putting up 2,408 rooms in 25 hotels across the city for shelter-in-place homeless individuals. Another 538 hotel rooms across 3 hotels for isolation and quarantine, and then over 1,000 congregate sites for people to either quarantine together or to exit from the hotel system. Once it was fully operational, the alternative housing program served up to 3,800 people on any given day through April of 2020 to June of 2021. Absolutely. Through the course of the pandemic, the alternative housing program provided rooms and shelter to over 9,000 people. So because we're San Francisco and we like to be leaders, I just want to throw out a little comparison. We like competition, but it's a healthy competition. So we had the highest per capita homeless placement rate in the state. And let me give you just a couple numbers, and then I'm going to recognize the people who were responsible for all this. San Francisco, once we were fully deployed, had hotel rooms for almost 30% of our homeless population. By comparison, across the state, there were only rooms for about 8% of the statewide population. We have in San Francisco about 20% of the homeless in the Bay Area, but we accounted for over 45% of the total number of hotel rooms under contract in the Bay Area. And lastly, we have about 5% of the state's 151 or so thousand homeless, but we had almost 20% of the total rooms. We have 5% of the state's homeless population and 20% of the rooms under lease. Unbelievable work. And so what I would like folks to do, and I know it's hard because you're kind of sitting in the middle, is kind of walk this way, because I do want you to walk up when I talk about what each of you did. And the first, I want to start with the 2 architects behind this system, Dan Kaplan and Noelle Simmons. Dan served as our Department Operations Center commander, and Noelle was our Operations Section Chief and oversaw the housing system. These were the 2 brains and muscle behind the entire system. Dan, in his meticulous nature, I don't know how many times he wrote out the flow chart on the marking whiteboard, only to Noelle kind of straightening it, correcting it. These 2, and I can say this because Noelle has worked for me for 14 years, I think, until she abandoned me to go be Shireen's Chief Deputy Director of the Department of Homelessness, and Dan Kaplan, who's currently the HSA Deputy Director of Administration. These 2 have an incredible capacity for work, and they work tirelessly 7 days a week, developing, as the mayor said, we didn't have a roadmap or a game plan. We're the Human Services Agency. We provide benefits for people who need them and help families in crisis. We're not hoteliers. So they developed this from scratch and showed their wherewithal and their stick-to-itiveness and steadfastness throughout, and are so well deserving of this award. Thank you, too. And so the architects are here, but I want to now bring up the people who are the nuts and bolts and in charge of the daily operations, and one of whom is Doris Baroni, who was in the video, and the other is Janice Levy. Doris had a pre-planned vacation out of the country. I was very sorry to miss it. Doris was our Human Services Branch Director. Janice came on. We stole her from the Controller's office, thanks Ben, to be the Branch Deputy Director. Doing something as complicated as the system that we developed requires people who are meticulous, detail-oriented, have follow-through, have the ability to juggle about, 35 balls in the air at the same time. And Janice and Doris were two peas in the pod and really took this on. Again, 7 days a week, we'd be on Teams calls on Sundays and be like, you guys are never gonna take a break. And, Janice was so surprised when she was awarded this, and it just shows how humble that she is, and she really deserved this award. And I want her to be up here because these are the people who are behind the scenes and you don't see them at all because they're so busy with their nose to the grindstone working hard. So congratulations, Janice. So the architects, the detail people, making sure the trains are running on time, and then the people who are behind the scenes making sure we have the hotels and that they're staffed and that the hoteliers are paid. Please come up, Ari Walsh and Esperanza Zeppian. So we had to negotiate individual leases with 28 different hotels. We had to secure DSW support to staff the hotels that encompassed over 600 people, from librarians to probation officers to rec directors. We had to secure all sorts of furniture, supplies, you name it. These hotels came to us bare, and we had to bring them up to enable guests to be there. I can't tell you the number of times I would call RE late at night saying, hey, I just got a call from this hotel site. We need X, Y, and Z. Done. Esperanza negotiating and RE negotiating 28 different contracts. Could you imagine in the context of city bureaucracy and our contracting rules? And meanwhile, Grant Colfax is like, where are my beds? Where are my beds? I got to get them out of the emergency room. Lots of pressure, and these two stepped up in a huge way. And thank you. I can't thank you enough, and the city can't. Congratulations. And then last but certainly not least, we're the Human Services Department and certainly aren't experts on infectious diseases and how to help and treat people who are at risk or are infected. But we had Ms. Kelly Hiramoto. From DPH, who was in charge of client flow, client placement, troubleshooting when we had to find placements for individuals who were in need. And really, the number of times she was on an email from my staff back and forth, what do we do? I'm like, let's ask Kelly. Send Kelly an email, and always within an hour, she would have an answer. She would get the legs on the ground, getting people placed, whether it was out of Laguna into a quarantine site, or moving a senior who was very vulnerable from one hotel to the next to better meet his or her needs. Kelly was the one. And so Kelly, I can't thank you for the partnership with DPH. And I think one of the benefits of COVID is our departments at the highest level of management know each other so well now. And we're able to really tackle other thorny issues that require multiple departments to work together. And Kelly, you're really emblematic of that. So I thank you and congratulate you. And that's a segue into, and I know I'm taking a lot of time, because we're San Francisco, we said, hey, we've housed about 2,400, 2,500 homeless people. Let's keep them housed. Let's not discharge them to the street when we close down these SIP hotels. So I'm going to introduce you, Shireen McSpadden, to say a few words about that.
So this is how Trent and I work together. I let him do all the talking, and then I come up and finish. We've been team members for 17 years now, I think. Anyway, so this team didn't end when Moscone shut down and everyone went back home to their regular jobs. As Trent said, one of the things that the mayor and the city committed to is that none of the people who were in shelter-in-place hotels were going to go back to the street. And so this team and now a number of people from HSH are making that happen. We're making it happen that people are moving out of the hotels and into permanent homes, some of them for the first time in their lives. And so that's what San Francisco is about. That's what this team is about. And we're really excited to continue this work and just want to thank all of you for your incredible commitment. I was at Moscone with you. I saw the long hours that you all had, and you know, the dedication, also the frustration, and just you never stopped. And just want to thank you so much for your incredible work and for being such incredible individuals. Congratulations.
To present the award for the Children and Learning Group, please welcome General Manager of the San Francisco Recreation and Parks Department, Phil Ginsberg.
Hi, everybody. It's been a beautiful but long night, and we still have several more awards to go, so I'm going to try to do my best to try to move it along a little bit. I'm standing here on behalf, thanks for the applause, and I said try, I didn't say succeed. I'm standing here tonight on behalf of my colleagues Maria Sue, who's the Executive Director of the Department of Children, Youth, and Family, and our City Librarian, Michael Lambert, who are our partners. They couldn't be here tonight because, well, you know, COVID. So here I am, but on their behalf, on behalf of thousands of incredibly grateful children, San Francisco children and their families, it is my great pleasure to present the Good Government Award for Children in Learning. This team, they were the guardians of our city's kids. There was a lot going on in our city over the last 2 years, but this team had its singular focus on making sure some way, somehow, our children could thrive. When the shelter-in-place order went into effect, there were over 57,000 students attending San Francisco Unified School District that's shifted to distance learning. That created all kinds of challenges for working parents, for struggling families, for children who, whether because of who needed extra emotional support or because they didn't have the technological tools that they needed, our children were extremely, extremely vulnerable. And this team, the guardians of our city's kids, really came through. In literally about 72 hours, they started a process to provide childcare and learning opportunities for our city's kids, starting with our emergency responders and healthcare workers, moving into our most vulnerable children, and literally within over 72 hours, they had shifted focus and stood up the first of these centers, and within a week or two, we had about 90 of them operating, literally serving thousands of our kids, making sure that they had technology, making sure that the staff knew what schools they were in, what grades they were in, what classes they were in, made sure that they had a warm, not just a warm meal, but warm meals, made sure that they had caring mentors, made sure that they had recreation. This went on the entire school year, and then when the school year was over, they shifted to summer and summer camp. And then they did it again. This team, they are heroes. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce them. Charisse Dorsey Smith. Charisse is the Deputy Director of Programs and Grants at DCYF. She was the program lead for our Community Hubs initiative. She led biweekly policy and planning meetings with the city team, which included Rec Park, the library, DCYF, DPH, 311, the Department of Technology, representatives from the school district to ensure that we were coordinated. And when Charisse said, Phil, stop talking, I stopped talking. She's the only one in this city, except the mayor, who's been able to do that. She leveraged her long-term relationship with CBOs to support them as the CBOs pivoted from their daily after-school activities into full-day learning programs. The next rock star is Dory Kamanong, from DCYF. She is the Community Engagement and Communications Manager. She led all communications and public outreach for this effort, was a data whiz, incredible with a pivot table and a PowerPoint. And she made sure that Rec Park, the Library 311, all of us were on message. Her team managed a parent-guardian hotline, all the print and social media messaging for the hubs, and all the media requests. Next up, Rec and Park's very own hero, our Assistant Superintendent, Anne-Marie Donnelly. In a short number of days, Anne-Marie led a team that took lifeguards and basketball coaches and staff who are used to working with seniors or adults. Everybody in the Rec and Park Recreation team became a community hub teacher and mentor and guardian. And Anne-Marie was really responsible for shifting our focus 180 degrees in our shop and making sure that we had the systems in place and the training in place to be successful. She also totally revamped our own registration system and made sure it jived with DCYF's and Dory's work, which was no small feat, to make sure that this all went smoothly. Anne-Marie, thank you. You are an absolute rock star. From the library, this is like a Hall of Fame lineup, folks, so I'm just going to keep on going. Michelle Jeffers, the Chief of Community Programs and Partnerships at SFPL. In her normal world, Michelle oversees the library's wide array of public programming, exhibitions, and classes for all ages and does a lot of partnership work. In this initiative, her role included oversight of SFPL's bookmobile services, literacy and learning program, and jail and reentry services. She helped identify library sites that would also operate as community hubs, which was no small feat, and navigated the library staff's fears of working in person and participated on all the interdepartmental meetings and basically blocked and tackled so that the library could be as wonderful a participant in this program as it was. Thank you, Michelle. Not here, but definitely worth acknowledging, another awardee, Shelley Cocking, the Chief of Collections and Technical Services at the library. She coordinated volunteers and staff who worked to assemble book bundles to distribute to students in all the locations. The kids got books, they got meals, they got recreation equipment, they got technology, they got it all, and these folks made it happen. Next up, Anna Volidzik for the Government Affairs Manager at DPH. So Anna, she doesn't know this, but was really this initiative's chief lobbyist within the labyrinth that is DPH. Just kidding, Grant. Anna was our internal advocate and interfaced with all of the medical policy decisions that needed to be made to make sure that this could all happen. And without you, Anna, it would not have. There is no question about that. And Anna is also responsible, since Sean brought this up earlier, for pickleball, because that also required a heck of a lot of lobbying. She worked day and night, not just to help schools physically reopen their doors, but to get the hubs open, to get teachers and students vaccinated, tested, and to get our kids back to normal as quickly as possible. Thank you, Anna, so much. And this really was a team effort. Next up, batting either cleanup or fifth or ninth, I'm not sure. Joseph John, the Deputy Director of Public Safety at DT. Without technology, since this was, as we all know, a very virtual environment with caring mentors, but the learning was virtual, we were toast without the IT. So Joseph partnered with other city officials in the school district. He installed high-speed broadband to all of these community hubs throughout the city, distributed 2,000 pre-configured Chromebooks to youth that were engaging in distance learning. The team also delivered high-speed internet connection to 5 public housing sites, linking 500 units and many students there to much-needed free internet services to enable continued remote learning. Again, Joseph, without you, it wouldn't have happened. I will tell you, folks, I've been in government now for 20-something years. I've been in this job for 13 years. This was my proudest moment. You guys are rock stars and heroes. Thank you very much. Sorry for all the hugging, Grant.
All right, next up we have somebody who did actually know what it meant to check the disaster service worker box, the Executive Director of the Department of Emergency Management, Mary Ellen Carroll.
Thank you. Little known fact, Phil and I grew up in Philadelphia we had like rival high schools, so I'm gonna be shorter than Phil. And also, I know the night's going long a little bit, but nothing was as long as a day at Moscone Center, am I right? So bear with us. I'm here to present public information, communications, and data. And we're here tonight, as you're hearing, it was such a massive effort over time to adapt, react, and respond to this unprecedented pandemic. But what never changed over the course of the pandemic and to today is the need to communicate to everyone about what was happening when things changed, which was on the daily, and to up that information and messaging so that it got to everyone. So, how did we do this? Well, first of all, our fearless leader and party planner, Lizzie Connolly, come up when I call you. She also has the deets for that after party tonight, so led the advanced planning team and was supported by our data guru, Trang Nguyen, both from DPH. They and their team collected, collated, translated data into an accurate real-time picture of the pandemic in San Francisco. Their diligent work allowed us to monitor the impacts of COVID operations in real time and quickly pivot to adapt to the emerging landscape of the pandemic. It's largely due to the insights generated by this advanced planning team's data that San Francisco had one of the most equitable vaccine distribution programs in the country. And you already heard about the ops team that had part of that, and you're going to hear about the equity team. It really took all of us working together. Our next honoree, Erica Eilenberg, please come up, this is probably not PC, but was a COVID command long hauler. It's probably not a good thing to say, but basically was in COVID command the whole time, wore all the hats of the information and guidance group. And the goal of that group was to ensure the development and dissemination of accurate, science-based, right, Grant, COVID-19 information. ING produced guidance documents, FAQs, tip sheets, and frameworks for sectors across San Francisco. Many jurisdictions across the country have used these materials that were produced by ING. Since 2020, over 600 ING documents have been produced by the team. So now we're going to talk about Kat Daniels. So in the middle of all of this, as we heard, was the production, don't clap so much, I'm trying to stay under time, was the ever-changing, very prolific health orders from our friend, we heard about from our friend Jesse here. So Kat Daniels played an incredible critical role in translating those health orders into English so that city departments, our business partners, and everyone really understood the consequences of those orders got the change immediately and in a way that was understood. She apparently also saved Jeff Cretin's life on multiple occasions, so for that we thank you. So this person needs no introduction, but I will say her name, Deirdre Hussey. She left the quiet, cushy job at the port to answer the call of a DSW to public health. We're not sure why, but she did, and we're very grateful. She had the incredibly massive job of writing press releases and wrangling innumerable, as I'm sure all of you saw, press conferences. Those who know her know that she is a powerhouse, that you should do what she tells you, and that what she took on was critical. And she also helped to keep what some of us on the inside called Grant's greatest hits, if you know, you know, on the record board. So finally, the Joint Information Center, or the JIC, was the first branch of the city's operations center to activate in December of 2019, when Corona was just sort of a weird, like, we didn't know if it was a beer or something else, and to support the messaging, and they were the last to deactivate after we deactivated at Moscone. This is where all information should flow in one point of truth, as it should, and our own, my own, DEM's own, Frances Zamora and Kristen Hogan led the JIC. They started the operation in a tiny room in Turk Street in the EOC. It grew to a football field room at Moscone and then continued on virtually after we closed down. The JIC also evolved from developing our award-winning campaign. You all remember the blue, yellow, and white signs, right? But those were not always they were not getting to everyone. They brought on community, and they created some of the most innovative, creative, equitable campaigns we have ever seen. Everything was translated, every time. And so for that, they were a big part of getting that message out. And then finally, Scott Taylor from the Data SF, who is the lead designer. Scott was the lead designer who really brought all of these ideas and vision to life. Almost 4 million pieces of collateral were distributed, often by teams who went out on foot to make sure every nook and cranny of the city was covered. The combined brilliance, creativity, and dedication of this group made sure that timely, accurate, science-based, life-saving information got where it needed to go. Thank you.
All right, and presenting the award for the Emergency Support Group, City Administrator Carmen Hsu, City Controller Ben Rosenfield.
Thank you, and congratulations to everyone here tonight. We've heard great things about not only what the city envisioned during the emergency, but what it actually got done, and it's such an amazing set of accomplishments. I'll just say that, as we all know, working in government settings can feel impossible even in the best of times. Dreaming of things and then executing them, and all the things that need to go into that happening. Hiring people, finding money, securing facilities, contracts, technology, all the things behind the scenes that it needed to take a vision and turn it into reality, hard in normal times. And that's what makes the work of this team, I believe, so amazing. During this generational moment when demand for public services was higher than it's ever been, this team got things done behind the scenes at a pace we've never seen before and in conditions that were harder than they've ever been. And it's truly our honor here tonight to be able to recognize them. So thank you.
Truly, I think as Ben has said, there is no single part of this response that would have been possible without these amazing people who work behind the scene. And it's often these folks who are forgotten when we make public recognitions or when we talk about different accomplishments. So I hope that you will give them an extra loud round of applause. First up, Kate Howard, someone that I've known for quite some time. And all of her colleagues at the Department of Human Resources, we recognize her on behalf of the entire team. She managed, as you can imagine, the immense structure of redeploying thousands of working for disaster service workers, often having to figure out new emergency hiring processes, filling new roles, managing many other issues at our COVID Emergency Operations Center. Thank you so much, Kate. Tarana Moyed. And her entire team at the Office of Contract Administration. I don't have to tell anybody about how difficult it was to secure personal protective equipment, especially at a time when everyone in the entire world was looking for the same exact thing. Hard to get your hands on. 90 million pieces of PPE secured for San Francisco and our community. 500 contracts entered into over a short amount of time. Thank you, Tarana. Nam Lee and his colleagues at the Real Estate Division. Now, you remember when COVID first came out and people started to find out more about it, we didn't really know how to address COVID, how it spread. And Nam was at the very front line of all that, helping to make sure all of our facilities were clean, that the surfaces were sanitized, and having to secure and help all of his workers, the custodians who served our public facilities, to make sure they had the guidance they needed to continue to work and be safe. His colleagues at Real Estate put together unprecedented effort to make sure we had all of the facilities we needed to lift every single site, whether it was the mass vaccination sites or any of the community connection points that we had across the city. Thank you so much, Nam. Mark Della Rosa in the Controller's Office. Let me just say this, $2 billion collected on behalf of San Francisco from the federal and state government. Not only did the controller's team and under Mark's leadership help to create all of the systems and paperwork that would be needed, they're already thinking ahead about when the federal government tries to claw back all disallowances. So thank you, Mark. Jack Chin, SFGTV, and the entire DT team. I mean, holy moly, we had to figure out how to talk to people, make sure the public was informed. We were out in community. We helped to put together all of these different PSAs to educate people, and we had to figure out how to do hybrid meetings. Jack spent so much time making sure everything was all in line, and he often, sadly to say, actually slept overnight to make sure that every meeting was covered. We're talking about 5,000 hours, 1,700 remote public meetings. Thank you, Jack. And finally, Caitlin Acevedo and the Entertainment Commission. She accepts this on behalf of the entire Entertainment Commission and the CERT team for San Francisco. This was a multi-departmental outreach enforcement effort. Just imagine having to go to the thousands of businesses across our city to make sure they understood all of the rules, and not only that, but how to best protect their workers and the people who are coming to there to eat, to dine, and to enjoy our city. 4,000 inspections during a short amount of time. Thank you, Caitlin. And with that, we are done. Come on up.
Presenting the award for the Economic Stabilization Group, please welcome Kate Sophis, Director of the Office of Economic and Workforce Development.
So when we think about economy, I know it sounds like a very sort of sterile word, but when I think about it, and what drew me to this role here at the city, which I have now been in only about a year, and I have the unique perspective, I think, today to share these awardees' accomplishments from the perspective of being in community, as I was at the time that you were all coming together to deliver all of the impact that you have. But when I think about economy, it's not a sterile word to me. It's the jobs, it's people's livelihoods, it's how people support their families, it's how people afford to access health care, and it all works together. And the group that I'm about to honor today have come together from across departments to deliver during the pandemic and to continue to collaborate as we move forward. The pandemic's not done, and the consequences of the economic impacts to so many of our communities, our small businesses, our BIPOC communities are long-lasting. And I am so proud to be able to work in partnership with this team today. So let me start by recognizing Andre Coleman from the Port of San Francisco. So in community, one of the early things that we all saw was what happens when you have COVID on a cruise ship. And we became almost the national parody, right, of, oh gosh, another cruise ship coming into port, passengers are sick. And for me, coming from that perspective to where we are today, where we not only have cruise ships coming back to port, we are restoring the critical role that it plays in our economy, but we have implemented some of the safest safety protocols and health protocols on our cruise ships of any city in the country, and that is due in large part to your work. So thank you. And from sister agency, the airport, Rhonda Chu. So Rhonda is the airport's capital finance director, and she wore multiple hats during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic to help stabilize the airport's financial operations. Among other things, refinanced bonds in the airport's $8 billion debt portfolio, expanded the airport's access to short-term capital, and led a team that successfully received over $250 million in federal stimulus funding. Collectively, it has helped us sustain, in my opinion, the most wonderful airport in the world. And I am so happy as I look every month at our economic indicators, and our enplanements just keep going up, and you help make it possible. So thank you. So we have two honorees today from the SFMTA. George Louis, come on up. So as someone who came from a manufacturing background before I came to the city, I have a special respect for people who work with their hands as well as their heads and their hearts. And George was trained as a mechanic, working at Muni's Quality Assurance, Quality Control Superintendent. And a few days before the pandemic's emergency order was instituted, the SFMTA established a department operations center, and George was appointed to serve as the DOC incident commander. And through that role, he has led scores of talented SFMTA staff from all reaches of the agency in responding to COVID over the past 2.5 years. Thank you for your service. And also from the SFMTA, Monica Monowich. Come on up. So in partnership with our next awardee, Monica is an SFMTA streets planner and is the Shared Spaces Deputy Program Manager. And for the past several years, she has co-led the implementation of, personally, one of my absolute favorite programs across the city. You have participated with heart, with your experience, with your creativity, and I want to have stand next to you, Robin Abad, also providing co-leadership of our Shared Spaces program. So I want to reshare a quote, and Robin, forgive me if I get the number wrong, but I just was at a commission hearing with Robin the other day, and I think you said originally, before this whole thing went down, how many shared spaces were there in the city? 60 parklets. And we now have over 1,600 shared spaces. And they're not going away. In fact, I would say one of the greatest silver linings of this crisis we've lived through is people now realize we are an outdoor city. We can eat outside, we can perform outside, we can be outside, even if it's only 52 degrees and you wear a parka. And it's in large part to your leadership. And it was a lifeline, as you know, to getting so many of our restaurants and small businesses through this pandemic. So from the bottom of my heart to both of you, thank you. And now I'd like to call up Heather Green of City Administrator's Office. So when I was still working in community, one of the first ways I got involved and was invited to be involved was to participate in our Economic Recovery Task Force. And while I can't speak to how it was done in other major US cities, personal experience, I have to say, I think we had one of the best, one of the most collaborative, one of the most equity-driven, community-engaged processes in the country. And I'm going to credit you with your leadership, along with many of your colleagues who helped orchestrate that. And I know part of the work that you did was to reach out to over 2,000 individual people and businesses to get their input in the process, let alone all of the folks who were invited to also participate in the task force itself. I can also personally say that when we look at our role here at OEWD in helping carry forward our economic recovery, we constantly look back to that work product. And so it lives on in the form of the work that we carry forward. And I am so deeply appreciative for that roadmap. Thank you. And now I'd like to recognize Natasha Mihal of the Controller's Office. So the thing you don't realize when you don't work for the city is what happens behind the scenes. And I, continue to be, even as I sit here today, so incredibly appreciative. And every day I learn more about what it takes from community's perspective to make it look easy. And Natasha, you were such a critical partner in the development of the city's reopening framework. You've also served as emergency operations shift manager, and you also led more than 30 performance division staff, continually flexing, redeploying, working across departments, and that's the magic that we benefit from, whether you're a small business or a worker or a resident in the community, and so we thank you so much. And so I saved my colleague, Laurel Advanatidis, for last. And I don't need my notes for this one. I've known Laurel easily 10 years. When I was running SF Made before I came to the city, she was my connection point, my beginning of our experience into working with the city as a community partner. And that relationship deepened to a level it's hard to put into words as we entered the pandemic. In fact, I will never forget the day that I got a call from you to let us know, us meaning all the manufacturers in the city we supported, 600 companies, that a shutdown was imminent. And beyond that, the numerous dialogue we had every time there was a new health order or every time there was confusion about, well, how might this state order or local order actually apply to a manufacturer? What's an essential service? And I think if I had any notion at the time that city government was about making rules and telling us in community what we had to do, any of that misnomer was completely exploded, in my view, by the work that Laurel did in community with us and with myriads of other businesses, big and small. She kind of became the health order whisperer to the business community, but in a way that made, at the time, us businesses, small businesses, us community leaders, feel like we were part of it, even as much as we all had to respond to the realities of a disease that we didn't understand and protections and rules that we didn't understand. The heart that you lead with, the transparency, the clarity, but also the willingness to listen to community as we try to co-share moving our economy forward is exceptional. It's a model that I try to live by every day, and personally, I couldn't imagine someone more deserving of this award. Thank you, Laurel. And thank you, all of you. Come on up.
So next, presenting our final award for the evening for the Equity and Community Response Group, the Executive Director of the San Francisco Human Rights Commission, Dr. Cheryl Davis. And Shakira Simley.
Before I came up, I asked Alicia, I was like, it's 2 minutes per person that I'm introducing, right? Because it seems like that's the rule tonight. So I asked Shakira Simley to come up with me. Shakira was instrumental in working with Mary Ellen to launch the equity Chief Equity Officer she served as and helped support the build out of this. I also want to recognize Brittany Chiquata and Joffrey Morris, who also helped in that capacity. So I have the amazing honor to introduce to you all tonight some what I call warriors, lions, tigers, and a mama bear. This has really been about, I'm not going to go too in depth on everyone because I know that everybody's ready for cocktails or whatever's waiting. Because the main thing that I would want to really stress is that what they did is they helped us build relationships. They helped us build connections, and they made sure that the folks who felt like they were invisible were seen. I found this quote that I want to read that I think really embodies what these folks represent. It's from Grace Lee Boggs that says, "We never know how our small activities will affect others through the invisible fabric of our connectedness. In this exquisitely connected world, it's never a question of critical mass, it's always about critical connections." And so, if I don't say anything about any of them, just know that they did the work to make the critical connections. They understood the importance of seeing people, they understood the importance of listening to people, and they understood the importance of leaving our bureaucracy, leaving our buildings, leaving our offices, and going into community. They understood what it was to be unwelcome in certain rooms. They understood what it meant to keep talking about equity when people were like, equity has nothing to do with this. And they would say, equity has everything to do with this. And so with that, I will invite them up. So when I say your name, you can come up and I'll say a little spiel, and then I will let Shakira close us out. So first up, Erin Yin from I would say Aaron is one of the people that definitely was tricked into taking this role. And yet, once he got in there, he was so good, he stayed with it, and then everyone fought over who could have Aaron work for them. So thank you, Aaron, for your work. Next up would be Tracy Packer. I would say that Shakira and I are very serious about equity, and Tracy had to get to know us in a very difficult, challenging time, and she still worked with us. And I want to just recognize and appreciate that she not just worked with us, but she really went above and beyond to really understand, to pivot, and to develop those programs. So thank you so much, Tracy, for your partnership. Next up, you know what, because I don't want to make you all have to climb over, so I'll just go in order. So I was making a joke because DeAnthony Jones, I don't know how he found out about this. He's been off work, but here he is tonight. I want to recognize DeAnthony Jones, who stepped in as equity officer and took a major beating and still kept coming to work. So thank you so much, DeAnthony, who is committed to community. We appreciate you. Next up, Jackie Ortiz, who was instrumental in making sure that those lovely blue and white flyers that we saw everywhere were everywhere. She coordinated the teams that went out and distributed those and put those out. Next up, Diana Ponce de Leon. I would say, I don't know if everyone knows that a lot of times when folks are doing this work, we're fighting within the bureaucracy, we're fighting within government to advance equity, and sometimes when you go out in community, they don't know that you're doing this fighting inside, and then they fight you too. And I want to say that Deanna has been fighting inside and outside and really working hard to get it right, even when people are telling her on both sides that it's wrong. So I just want to thank her so much for her commitment and dedication. So I was sitting in the back with Tracy Brown, and we were like, we should have had Valerie, because I don't know if anybody's ever been on a call with Valerie Lewa, Tulye Lewa. Valerie is like, your time is up, you need to move. So Valerie is like amazing. She is not just, she's known as Mama Bear, and I think Mayor Breed gave her that title, but Valerie's commitment and dedication to advancing this work is the model that we should all seek to follow and to replicate. She is so committed to this, to the point that I thought she was going to lose her job. So I just want to thank Valerie for her commitment, her dedication, and her steadfastness to make sure that we get it right for the people in the city and county of San Francisco. And if you can't tell by my introduction, sometimes I might be a little bit too much and a little bit hard to manage and to deal with, and these folks were all great. They allowed us to really push them. And in the same way, Shakira Simley, who was leading this work and doing a phenomenal job, was amazing, and I just wanted to recognize and share space with Shakira.
Hey everybody, I miss you. I just wanted to say none of this equity work could have happened without the brilliance and leadership and intuition of Dr. Cheryl Evans Davis. So can we please thank Dr. Davis? One of the lessons that I learned from Dr. Davis is nothing for us without us. And I am tremendously grateful that the foresight of Dr. Davis and Mayor Breed to make sure, and also Mary Ellen, that San Francisco was the first city to actually have a chief equity officer and an equity unit out of any disaster response. Many cities and counties followed suit, and because of that, we were able to help our folks who are unhoused, who are in jails, who are essential workers, who were living in substandard housing. And because of the work of each one of these individuals and every single mom, auntie, grandma, OGs, even our young folks on the streets to make sure that community came first, responded first, and made sure we work with the city to make this happen. Nothing for us without us. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Equity is not just something in name, it's something you do in action. So, power.
This is why I should stay on the paper. Isela is not here, but I just want to recognize Isela Ford from Department of Public Health. And I think the LTF can attest to this. Isela was so committed to this. She was going to all the communities and asking, what can I do to help? She wanted to be a part of this. She was dedicated without even being asked. So I apologize for forgetting her, but she was really critical to this work. So give it up for Isela.
All right, everybody. I hope that from everything that you have heard this evening and seen this evening, you will recognize just how amazing you all are. So thank you again for your dedication, your passion, your commitment. I have two very important announcements before we wrap up. The first is that we do have proclamations from our assessor, Joaquin Torres. They will be available for pickup for the honorees at the reception area. If you can stop by there on your way to the actual reception. And I think because maybe we have a lot of city leadership in the room, we have been given an extended bar hour. So that's the other announcement. We get to have a party until 8:45. So head on over to the North Light Court, and thank you again.